Moxy, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. One thing that I really loved about the invitation that I sent with you was that you already do this practice of speaking with your plants, with the rose, you know? So I would love, as an intro, before we even get into speaking with the rose, to hear about your practice of how you speak with your plants, to hear about your morning routine. Because it's been inspiring me to connect with myself and my plants in a different way. So I'm excited to have you here, excited to explore this, and would love a little intro to you about how you already connect with the rose and with your plants.
Sure, thanks. I really appreciate you asking me. This is super special and different. Not actually anything I've ever done before. Um, like I've had interviews, but it's always been about music and synthesizers. So this is like kind of nice that it's about my plants, um, and just how I connect with just the earth and the natural wonders of this universe. Morning routine is basically making coffee. While the coffee's making, I feed Carl, and then that's my cat. And then we will migrate into the front room here. And I'll typically just say hi to Geneva. She is my big monstera. Geneva has been a very special, prominent person for me. Um, she hasn't given me a new leaf until like this past week. So I think that's for me a big symbolism of how I've been feeling over the winter and through some things I've been going through, where it's like, it's okay to just feed yourself and be nourished and not have to provide or produce anything new. Like, it's okay to just be inward for a little while. And she always seems to make an appearance in my synthesizer videos because she just needs that attention. But she's beautiful. I just gave her a little haircut recently, and she's just thriving. Um, my jade plant doesn't have a name yet, but she's also thriving. And I always tell her thank you for continuing to just show me that growth is inevitable and sometimes it hurts. And then in my bedroom, I have this beautiful little cactus um, that just keeps, I don't know, I have these plants in my window and I always tell them, hey, thanks for hanging out. You guys are doing so great. Like, I know it's been a hard winter and I'm so glad everyone has each other. Because for a while it was just like a couple succulents and like that was it. And then I realized they were kind of lonely, and my neighbor upstairs, I call her Mama Melinda because she's like the sweetest mom ever. She gave me a couple cuttings um, late fall, and I was like crying at her, like, "You've been such a great mom since I lost my mom." And she's like, can I give you some cuttings?" I'm like, "Yeah." And
Mm.
I hugged her, and these cuttings are just like busting out. And I realized that my succulents needed friends, so I put the cuttings in these they're still in like the teeny jars, like they kind of bookend the succulents. So like everyone's hanging out with everyone, and I tell them like, I'm so proud of you for getting along, because they're all just like thriving, like thriving. So within just verbalizing all of this, I think it's a very symbolic to how I choose to sometimes feel uncomfortable when I work with people. Um, Lately, I've been trying to be better about saying yes. So even when you're kind of in this kind of chafy, uncomfortable situation, you can still work well with others, and you can still have an opportunity for growth.
Mm.
Um, and also, it's okay to like just be chill and be dormant for a while and like not have to grow so fast. Like, fuck, we don't have to grow so fast.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, what a rich routine. I have so many questions. Thank you for sharing that too. I'm curious about how they get their names. Do they name themselves? Do you hear their names? Do you?
I heard Geneva. Um, I had some succulents that didn't make it this winter, And when we were all hanging out at my old place in Clintonville, they were a band. They were called Suck This. It was SUCC. It was like Suck This. Um, but again, it showed me like they didn't make it. And one of the succulents, it was this beautiful cactus, like thimble cactus I'd had for like 10 years. And I couldn't believe that it had just died. And I was trying so hard to revive it and to like give it CPR and to like talk to it and show it love. And it was just like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And even thinking about it now, I'm getting emotional because I'd never lost a plant that made me feel like I lost a part of myself. Oh my God, I'm crying about it. It was like also very symbolic that maybe that part of my life is it's okay to move forward and to let it be in the past. So the band members of Suck This like passed away. And that
Wow.
was really hard. That was really hard. And it just happened like a couple months ago too.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
Wow.
hear I hear
Gr-
that.
Yeah, the opportunity of grieving with
Hmm.
nature, you know, that's beautiful.
I do know. It's like ugh, yeah, I do know. Yeah.
It's interesting hearing you talk about the way that you're talking about your plants. They are people, or they are, they are spirits. They are connected. I'm curious if you feel this, this interconnection. You're saying you experienced the death of this plant, and it was like the death of this part of you as well. And I'm curious how much of that feels like an interplay. You're getting to experience yourself through the symbolism of, how the succulents are all getting along and how everyone's thriving, and then even the mother, getting to have this like reparenting by this plant, it's so beautiful. And yeah, I'm curious, I feel like there's a really deep act of surrender to allow these living essences, these living spirits, these living plants, in your life to be teachers, but also to be a part of you.
I mean, there's a huge, huge interplay there in the arching symbolism is taking like having a plant care routine for so long with a certain group of these living beings and having them one by one just die at the same time that I'm caretaking a senior pet and caretaking a senior parent, and they're both gone now. Um, my dude Lorenzo passed July 2022. My mom just died last year. And the symbolism of taking care of these beautiful souls and these energies and these ever moving spirits that don't just live in one dimension. They live in multiple dimensions within the life that you live, and giving them the best quality of life that they can have, knowing that at some point that life that we know in that moment will cease to exist and it will go on to another dimension that we don't know about right now.
Mhm.
And the interplay of taking care of something and like grieving the loss of that is a huge surrender.
Oh.
And it's really fucking hard.
Mhm.
Really fucking hard.
I never thought about the afterlife of a plant until this moment. That's that's really doing something to my brain.
And like I've lost several plants in the intermediate of losing a pet and then losing a parent, and then a little bit thereafter. And I don't just like toss them in the garbage. I let them decompose a little bit and just re-sow them back into the soil to feed the other plants, which is what we do with memory and like what we do with nostalgia and energy. We don't just throw it away and forget about it. We let it just dissolve into something else so we can like re-bless it and repurpose it for another part of life.
Wow. You're really opening some pathways for me.
Um,
It's good. It's good. It's the composting metaphor, you know. Wow. How did you get into this practice?
I don't understand how people can just throw plants in the garbage. And I maybe that is really going back to just my connection with nature and like always going camping with my parents and being a scout for so long and getting my hands in the earth and realizing that everything is just, the earth and the soil and plants are just recycled old shit from the previous generation of the plant, going all the way back to like deep, deep geological time. Like, what are the layers of earth? It's just decomposed, compressed down, super pressurized minerals, dinosaur bones, lava, like earth. It goes way further than my brain could even process right now.
Mhm.
So I think it's just been a natural, ever learning process of just honoring the earth.
I think what's beautiful about your practice that I witnessed in you sharing your morning routine is the act of listening. It's like you're going around and they have their names and maybe they've told you their names and you've gotten to grow a relationship with them because you're listening with them too. So you're knowing what they need, and sometimes that what their need is really hard, and it might be that they're ready to go and they're ready to be returned to the soil. And I think the way that you work with them is really beautiful and inspiring. You mentioned when I reached out to you to be on the podcast too, you mentioned that your plants will tell you how much water they each need, or some of them say that they don't need any water today. I'm curious what that practice is like, and how do you listen to them?
Um, it's the act of listening, just kind of quieting my mind. And I'm not. There is one specific cactus that I'm having a really difficult time being in tune with. Sometimes they're just reluctant and they don't want to be vulnerable.
Mm.
So you kind of have to um, use your intuition. Now I have overwatered because I was either distracted or I wasn't fully listening. But that's an ongoing practice.
Mhm.
Um, there's yeah one specific cactus that I have in my front window that just like I'm having a difficult time communicating with.
Mm.
And I think with anything in nature, sometimes they just don't want to. Like when we're premenstrual, like we don't want to fucking talk or listen. We're just like, ugh, I know what I want. And I'm looking at my plants right now. I sit in front of them or I stand in front of them and I just look, take a big deep breath, and I'm just like, hey, how are you? Like, what do you eat today? Um, they all enjoy the Tuesday plant day, Tuesday's watering day, and I'll just pay attention. Sometimes it's hard to pay attention because there's so much noise, and that's multidimensional noise. It's in the phone, it's electromagnetic noise, it's traffic noise, it's a cat screaming, it's like all of it. So that's still an active practice. Like I've certainly have not perfected anything like at all.
But it invites you to remain intentional and active in the tool of being present. And I think what's beautiful about this too, and how it's a part of your morning practice, is that you get to bring that presence through a lot of other moments, throughout your day. When you start your day that way with such deep intention to listen, it it threads through the way that you listen to your day-to-day mundane tasks or to others that you interact with. You start maybe likely even subconsciously listening to others the way that you listen to plants, and then that just expands the way that we speak with others and our language that we have with others. You're picking up information from people without words, and that's really powerful.
Yeah, thank you. And it's even listening to self. It's it's quieting down and just taking a breath and just taking a minute. And inevitably, my plants, at least once a week, make it onto my gratitude list. My plants and my books, my connection to nature and my literacy. Um, because yeah, thank you for saying that because quieting down enough to listen to nature, you get more in touch with yourself and you give yourself more self-worth in that moment. And in other moments when you start to feel anxious or stressed, or for me, like I overthink, I'm an overthinker.
Mhm.
God damn, I overthink.
I can relate.
Thinking what, Geneva is my biggest plant and my biggest right now, my biggest cheerleader. And when I'm on my synthesizers, like she's just like right there, and she helps me not overthink and just kind of be in a more natural state.
Mm. Have you always felt that connection with nature supporting your music?
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean that. I think that goes all the way back to being really, really young and being very aware of my audio environment and hearing music and everything.
Mm.
Um, I grew up with a creek in my backyard, and I would always hear woodpeckers, and I would hear um, the water in the creek, and I loved like the wild years when there would be all the cicadas. Fucking my favorite. God, the sound of a cicada just losing its mind. It's some of my favorite shit. And I would hear all the birds you'd hear the birds screaming and then they'd pluck the cicadas. And there's just a certain sound of that. And I've always had this audio connection like with nature. And some of my favorite sounds are just natural sounds, like when I would help my dad split wood, just that like the cracking of the wood coming open. I grew up with in the family room that had a skylight, and rain hitting the skylight. I would just lay on my back for hours and just like mesmerize at that sound. And like my favorite sound I can remember right now is like kind of heavier snow that was just like it plucked just enough and it hit the skylight just enough to sound like a this kind of muted drum, and like loved that.
Mm.
So yeah, my audio connection with nature, it's always been there. I never questioned it. It was just always a part of me and like my life.
I think what's beautiful too about the way that you witness sound and the way that it's played through nature and our environment around us is the feeling that you evoke, what you're describing with the weight of the snow and the way that it had this kind of muted sound. It brought a feeling in my body. Like it immediately invited me to feel what that sound might evoke. And I think that's what's really special. You can feel that intention in the way that you curate, in the way that you live your experiences, but also the way that you produce too. So it's really special.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, field recordings in my performances are really important, and inviting and making sure that my audience is also a part of that kind of cyclic natural world is extremely imperative. Extremely imperative. Because I'll use field recordings and recordings of Lorenzo's purr, um, water from the inlet of the Baltic Sea when I was in Sweden. It's just really important to create an all-encompassing environment and to help other people feel what I feel, which is like the the important connection and dichotomy of like we live in a natural world. Like let's not forget about it.
Yeah, there's something I really love about water and the way that it carries a different a different rhythm, a different resonancy, no matter where you're recording from. I love sitting by streams and meditating, and I have recordings on my phone. The stream here sounds different than the stream in Oregon, than the stream across the world. The water is so unifying, but yet it's so unique too. And I think it's really beautiful that you pull those elements in and yeah, expand, you're letting people travel through you. You're letting people experience what it's like in other places. And it's through that memory. If we're going back to, the plants carrying memory and all of that too. It's like water carrying memory, sound carrying memory, and you're then building that into and composing that into something that's an offering for others to remember as well. Got really deep and metaphorical there, but it's really beautiful.
I mean, I'm just the messenger. I'm the conduit. Um, and we have to stay open to nature to receive those messages if we
Yeah.
allow ourselves. And I
Yeah.
think people should allow themselves to
Yeah.
cut off and stuck in technology. Like, just take a damn minute.
Hmm.
I mean, just recently in December, I traveled up to Innis Woods to track down a barred owl, and I found it, and it was so great. It was the closest I'd never seen a barred owl with, like, I'd heard them forever. Heard them. Never saw one. And after I had like my moment with it, I heard probably like 500 yards away this pileated woodpecker just like freaking out in a hollow tree.
Oh.
And I just by sound, I tracked it down and I was just like, I'm not leaving until I get eyes on this thing.
Mm.
And it was so awesome. It was so awesome to just use my hypersensitivity to receive the message, the Morse code from this big ass, gorgeous pileated woodpecker. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go track it down. Like I'm getting closer and closer to the sound because the echo was like closing in, and then I saw it and I was like, yes, yes, you just have to be open to the message.
Wow. You just have such a fun lived experience. Like I think it'd be really fun to be you out on a walk, just to experience life in the way that you do. It's really fun. I also think this might be a good time to go into speaking with the rose as we're talking about receiving messages and Morse code and
Totally.
listening and everything. And thank you for sharing your morning practice and all of these really rich tools that you work with.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, so if you're ready, we can close down eyes if you would like, and listeners, if you would like to sit with us in meditation as well, if you're in a safe place, you're welcome to close your eyes as well. And just coming into the body, we'll go ahead and take a deep inhale through the nose together. Exhale through the mouth. Just noticing where your spine meets the floor, where the base of your spine is meeting your seat. Noticing any sensations that are available to you in your body. Just tuning into any senses. And let's take one more inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And Moxy, when you're ready, we will go ahead and begin our quest to go and speak with the rose.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. And I'll invite you to just notice anything that's coming up for you in your environment. Notice the space. Is it feeling wide? Are there certain attributes to it?
It's the front flower bed of the house I grew up in.
Mm.
It's my mom's yellow rose bush.
Mm.
She had a bunch, but yeah, there's 3 rose bushes there.
Mm. Is there a particular rose that might be standing out to you?
It's funny because she didn't grow yellow roses, but that's her favorite. And there's one gigantic yellow rose right in the middle of all of these maroon and red ones. And I know that's her. And it is totally opened and bloomed. And it's beautiful.
And the space is feeling very wide. I keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, the rose is just gigantic. It's like 10 times bigger than anything else.
Mhm.
It's awesome. And there's like hardly any thorns on it,
Mhm.
which is okay. Like the thorns are hidden,
Mhm.
and that's pretty symbolic to my mom. She really didn't want anyone to fuss about the thorns or the issues that were happening in her life. But I always had access to those because she trusted me.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's definitely showing me, yeah, that she's safe and okay, and like it's pretty beautiful wherever she's at. She's like laying inside of this gigantic yellow rose. It's pretty cool.
Mhm. Do you notice any desire for communication, either rising from her that she wants to share with you, or anything that you would want to say to her right now?
Well, the energy is keep growing, keep watering your life, and that she's proud of me. And whatever thorns she showed me while she was still alive, that those aren't always going to be there, and I shouldn't focus on those.
Mm.
That life is beautiful, and the thereafter, the afterlife is beautiful, and that she's really proud of me, and that I need to keep just expanding and expanding and expanding towards the sun.
Mm.
And that feels really good. It was hard to do that last year, but I'm feeling myself being that big yellow rose and like just growing and just constantly just blooming and reblooming and just looking at the sun,
Mm.
putting my face to the sun.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
the reflection of the yellow and the way that it's growing toward the sun too, it feels like a mirror.
yeah. And there's like little deer underneath, which is like symbolic because they were deer in a front yard all the time. And that my connection with nature will just be infinite. And that I have a full view of this gigantic, I mean, this rose is huge.
Mm. So there's parts of this scene that you've maybe that are coming from your memory, and then there are other parts that are coming more from imagination or from this metaphysical space,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. And just her kind of showing me that I can be as large and as big and as bloomed as I want to be, and that no one can stop me.
No one can stop you. Mm.
It's nice. And now I can see like the underneath it, and it's kind of dewy and it's beautiful and it's green and it's healthy. Wow, this rose just keeps growing. It's huge.
Mm.
Wow. Like up in the atmosphere. That's so great.
Does it tell you anything about the pace of time?
But it's slow. There's no expedition to it, meaning like it doesn't have to be fast. It shouldn't be fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that time is relative, and it is what we make of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just continue to take the journey, we'll go further than we could ever imagine. We allow ourselves to use those thorns as rungs on a ladder or as stepping stones or as just putting your feet on it and just climbing,
Mhm.
to use them as growth and not as hindrances. We could go so far into the universe and never stop, literally, like
Mhm.
never stop. And you're gonna stumble and like might get scraped up, might have a little blood. And that's okay. You can stop and take a pause. But there's still enough room. You can still keep going. You should still keep going. And it might hurt. You might like cry your eyes out, think you can't, but you can.
It just
Because
feels simple.
yeah, and the universe will always provide.
Mhm. I love when you said that your mom had the thorns were kind of out of sight at first. There weren't as many up near the rows. I was imagining them as you kind of spoke to them here of this ladder, that to get to the rows you have to climb through the thorns, and
Right.
and only those who are close to her, you got to have that with your mom, and to have those vulnerable moments of climbing through her thorns and really getting to know her and getting to the essence of the rose and the reach of it. And
Good. Because she trusted me. And I think this climbing, you have to trust the person who's waiting for you, just reaching.
Mhm.
They're going to be up there. But
Mhm.
mom, she's not going to make it easy. She's going to make me work for it. But she did trust me.
Mhm.
I was her friend and her child, her adopted child.
Mhm.
And she, in a way, she didn't want us to be worried. She never wanted us to be worried about her. So, of course, the thorns were going to be hidden and out of sight for a little while. She didn't want us to worry.
Mhm.
She's the one who always told me, like, it's not going to be like this forever and we'll get through it. Yes, we will, because it won't be like this forever. Just keep.
Mhm. Yeah, and enjoy the journey and enjoy the view. As I'm seeing the rose being so tall, it's like, what can you see from up there? Hmm.
Everything. The deer that were underneath were started,
Hmm.
and then it was just like the whole earth.
Yeah.
It was like on this gigantic rose, and we're just like kicking it, and you're just like looking down, and you're like, "Fucking right, that's the earth." And here we go. Oh my god, there's another planet. Like, whoa, there's another galaxy. Like, whoa, there's another planet.
Wow. I like the idea too that it's very grounded in this high perspective, this, the ability to see wide, but to stay really grounded. It felt like it was able to grow so high because of how much was going on there at the base.
Yeah, that's definitely my mom. That was both my parents. That
Mhm.
was the house I grew up in. That was the foundation that as a young person they provided, and I feel really grateful for it because as I'm getting further and further away from my upbringing and further away from my dad being gone and now my mom being gone, um, my that foundation is extremely special. And growing up as an adopted person and being really confused about it all, sometimes thinking that my life was horrible, that no one had it as bad as I had it. That's like so uh, young thinking at the time. And the perspective I have right now as a 46-year-old is, damn, I had a really fucking okay and pretty awesome growing up because my parents taught me life things and were also present and also chose to make certain sacrifices so my brother and I could have a solid ground to be on at any point in time, whether we were being exalted or whether we were having problems. And something my mom always said was like, you can always come home. And that's really, it's really beautiful. Like I miss her a lot. And I know I can always go home because like home now is like has to be in my heart, and it's her handwriting in these books, and it's my dad, wanting to watch baseball with me, and like I can always go home because like I just have to open up my chest and like touch my heart.
Get me all emotional over here.
Yeah, that's today's vulnerability.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, totally.
Mm.
Creeps a bitch, and thank God for plants.
We need that on a sticker.
Um, throughout this year, like having my plants sometimes, I have to show up for my plants and my cat. I have to show up for my partner. Like just these small things that sometimes when grief is really just taking you down, there are still these beautiful living things in this dimension that you choose to show up for. So I'm grateful for that. Thankful for it because it's kept me alive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that grounding perspective too.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. Making choices to stay grounded and making changes to stay grounded and making changes to be sure that you're showing up correct. And that's hard too. And that's probably why I've lost some plants because there were some times last year I didn't show up correct. And I wasn't actively listening enough because I was just pushing it down. I was muting it down. Um, but that's how we grow, right? We just keep. Sometimes we're just hanging on by a fucking finger, and we're like, oh no, all right, I'm gonna make this choice to grab on with both hands.
Yeah, you're speaking to the, I want to call it an art of responsibility, because responsibility is something that's really, it comes with its challenges, but it comes with great privilege too, to be responsible for the life of something, taking care of a plant. I like to think of responsibility as something if I ever feel burdened by responsibility, I go to the sun. We're talking a lot about this like idea of connecting with the sun. And I like to think, like I ask the sun, do you feel burdened by the responsibility to keep us alive? And the sun's like, no, of course not. I'm just the sun. And for me, like that's what I come back to, and sometimes the sun does kill plants too. Sometimes she's real strong for a while, or she goes away for way too long and we all grow a little depressed. Like she's got her fluctuations too. And I give myself a lot of grace and knowing that there's that same essence within me, that sometimes things happen and plants die, and it's just another moment to take reflection, to take responsibility, and to come in and say, okay, how can I do it differently next time? How can I keep the next cactus alive?
Totally. I mean, the way you have conversations with the sun is like how I have like daily conversations with the moon. Like, moon, thank you for helping give us gravity.
Mhm.
Thank you for helping me feel grounded and like stable in one place when the rest of me is just like out of fucking control.
Thank you for being a friend in the darkness too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I love the threads of gratitude through all of your practices too, with nature, with your mother, with your plants, with it seems like it just spews out of you in all the different aspects of life. It's really great.
Thank you. I mean, it's been challenging. It hasn't always been like this,
Mhm.
but because of that responsibility that you just mentioned, it is an ever growing process. Even, and in my Buddhist practice, like we learn to have gratitude for the difficulties and gratitude for the challenges and gratitude for the really fucking hard shit we have to go through because those are growth opportunities if we allow them to be. But that's also been like it's just a practice. I'm
Mm.
thankful for grief. I'm thankful for the hard shit because it eventually creates a much better person for myself and for other people.
Mm.
Trust me, I haven't always been like this.
Mhm. Well, yeah, it's a practice. It's totally, and you can fall out of a practice of gratitude. Sometimes it comes back in. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't been practicing gratitude. Duh. Like it can be really simple. And when you get back in the rhythm of it, it can transform so much. But yeah, it's a daily check-in.
Like the more you can transform yourself, the more that it just extends out your front door, out to the sidewalk, out to the community, out to the zip code, out to the state. It's like just cosmically.
Almost like the food in the
Yeah,
soil for the rose to grow the way that it does.
that's right. And
Mhm.
that's just the sowing of the compost.
Mhm. Now I'm seeing you're going this way, and then I'm like, but then it's also like DJing, you know?
It,
Yep.
setting those cue points, just getting everything lined up for the
Mhm.
next transition, for the next experience, for the
Yeah.
next journey and the next message, for the next story that we have to tell ourselves and others.
Mm. Wow. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's really wonderful to chat with you because you just keep opening fun new pathways of things that I hadn't thought about in the ways that we're talking about them. So thank you. And also, I feel like this might be a good time to go to your quote if you're ready.
Yeah, totally. The quote is winter always turns to spring. And, I've been a practicing Buddhist since 2009. And I practice Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism. It's the Soka Gakkai International Organization. And I really got attached to it at another really difficult time in my life when my dad had just died, my cat had just died, the person I was dating was cheating on me and lying to me, and then a family member I was close to was like, "Oh, I might have emergency heart surgery and might die today." I was like, "I can't do this. I don't know what's happening." And I had just gotten introduced to the practice mere months before all this happened in 2009. And since then, all of these really wonderful principles have been just absorbed into my body, and it's not just the physical season of winter and spring. It's the season of energy and the season of your life. Winter being difficulties, darkness, dormancy, challenges, depression, um, mental, creative, physical paralyzation of like, oh my God, what's happening right now? Those, like my mom always said, like, this won't last forever. Like, winter will always give way to spring. And that transition is incredibly inspiring and hopeful because sometimes, in the depth of our difficulty, sometimes we can only rely on, well, at least I know the season is going to change because that's nature. Nature won't allow things to stay the same all the time. Winter will always transition into spring. You'll see things bloom, just like in your life. Things will rebloom and repurpose, and it will change. Just have hope. And yeah, have hope. There it is. Because it will, no matter how challenging and difficult, and you think it's just going to be like this and you're never going to get out of it. Yeah, you will. It'll just take a little time. You just have to believe and have faith in yourself and like faith in nature. even if you have to just wait for the season to change to feel a little bit more, okay, I can do this. Like, it's okay to do that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what's beautiful about that too, what I'm visualizing is it really asks you to let go of anything that you might be holding on to from the last season, from the last year. In order to have hope, you really have to let loose. You know, you got to let go of your grips on anything, even any identities of self, um, any ways of being. You know, it really takes you through. It can take you through. It takes me at least through a lot of depression or a lot of grief, a lot of internal look at all of this, every winter it's another, I don't, sometimes I think, oh, I'm going to be great, like this winter I won't I'm good, I've been doing all the work, and then we get into winter, I'm like, what happened? And it's a reminder every time. I'm like, spring is coming, it's going to happen, and not in a way that I can't be where I am. Like, I'm not jumping ahead. At least I try not to. I can grow impatient sometimes, But yeah, it's a really beautiful, it feels so forgiving, to just be where you are and to know that the season will change.
It will. It will. And especially with this eclipse, I think everyone's feeling the shedding and the molting, which is even a deeper symbol for, I think, the type of winter we've all experienced. And we can, just like a little crab, just kind of just shimmy out of that shell and just, all right. I mean, the new skin is like, ow, ouchie,
Yeah.
raw,
Hmm.
but it won't be like that forever. It will smooth out. It will like feel better soon.
We'll get our new calluses going. We gotta work up the fingertips again.
Yeah, it's something really, that quote's just been a very important thing that I've said to myself at various moments in the past 16 years, 17 years. I can't do math. 2009 minus 2025. I don't know. A long time.
Mhm. Mm. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think it's a great cap too to a lot of the conversation that we shared too, just to remain positive, to have hope, to continue growing, to keep climbing those thorns, yeah,
Yeah.
just to remain present in the act of listening, listening to yourself, listening through all that is around you, taking care of yourself through these acts of giving to, giving to the plants, receiving from nature. I love the way that, going back to the beginning, the way that you described how the mother would give you her clippings, it wasn't like, oh, I got some clippings from this plant, It was, she gave them to you. It was a gift. Yeah.
Which, in turn, like when things are given to you as a gift, it makes you want to take care of them more. There's a responsibility.
Mhm.
There's
Yep.
an honor. Really, there's an honor.
Mhm.
You
So
know,
great.
it's special.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. It was so special. There's so many good moments. My heart's feeling all giggly. Like I want to laugh now. Like, we just went through a lot of really beautiful conversation together. And now I'm like, oh, I just want to hug you. I want to go and just laugh, among the flowers or whatever. We'll have a garden day soon. Thank you so much for opening your heart, for being vulnerable and sharing your story here.
Thank you for having me and for listening. I really appreciate it. Means a lot.
Special. All right. If you wouldn't mind just sharing your quote one more time, and that will be our close.
Winter always turns to spring.